Yeah, that was a great career session. And I know for international students, working is a huge factor that influences your decision to come to Canada or come to Trent or not. And I know that immigration is an interrelated topic. So I'm really happy to be able to share some of the basics that you need to know as a new international student today. As Dave said, if you have any questions, which I'm sure you do, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm trying to leave some time at the end to address them, but I probably will address them during the session because many of the questions you have are not exclusively shared by you. Everyone has the same questions at the start. So good news is this information in the presentation is up to date as of yesterday, but I like to remind students at the start that immigration policy changes with some frequency, and um, before you submit an application, it's really important that you just confirm that you're using the IRCC, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada's website to have the most up-to-date information. So some good news. If you choose to come to Trent University, you are well supported in your immigration journey. Not only me, who is the Global Engagement Manager, but we have 3 licensed immigration advisors who meet with students one-on-one in workshops and sessions kind of like this, and throughout a student's academic journey, from the time that they accept their offer through their degree, if they have to extend a study permit or invite a family member to come to Canada, to graduation and beyond. So in order to provide immigration advice in Canada, you need to be licensed by an overseeing body, governmental body. And the 4 of us are RICIAs, which means we're Regulated International Student Immigration Advisors. That means you can trust the advice we're giving you. And an added bonus is that we're here to serve you. We don't charge additional fees for our work. We're not like agents who do your application for you for a cost. We help you to own your immigration journey yourself. So the 4 of us work in Trent International, as do many of the people you're going to meet today. And if you don't know Trent International yet, you're going to throughout your time as a Trent student. Trent International is the support office for all international students at Trent. We have offices in the Durham campus and the Peterborough campus, and we're available Monday through Friday, as well as online with very, very accessible hours. And we have the staff who know what it takes to be successful as an international student. International student advising is one of our most popular features. It addresses the questions that a student has, and there's no such thing as a silly question when it comes to immigration, because the consequences are pretty severe if you don't adhere to your conditions. So our advisors support international students in 2 key interrelated ways. We support with study-related immigration topics in Canada. So the most obvious one would be the study permit and its conditions. We also support students with their visas, or ETAs, their entry documents, which we'll talk about in more detail in a moment. Co-op work permits, which I'm happy to report are being phased out and integrated into a regular study permit. So should you enter into a co-op program like Tim was just speaking about in a prior session, uh, you will be able to do that additional work without any additional immigration documents. It's very good news. And a very common topic for international students is the post-graduation work permit, because most international students want to remain in Canada after they graduate, at least for a while, to gain some work experience, possibly forever, and pursue a path towards permanent residency. But immigration doesn't live in a bubble. Immigration is closely related to a student's academic progress. So we can advise you as well on your academic issues as they relate to your immigration status. So we know that life isn't always linear. There are ups and downs. If you have a delay that causes you to um, extend your program, perhaps you have to take a term off because of a family issue or an illness or something, we can make sure that unanticipated delay in your academic program does not implicate your immigration status. Um, if you decide to change your major, or if you find out that you're really not in a course that you want and you'd like to switch to something else, we can help you to change your courses, to understand the pros and cons of making that decision, and to minimize any risk that could be inherent in that decision. And then worst case scenario, if a student is placed on an academic suspension, we can help navigate that, mitigating risk as much as possible. So I said it's a journey, and I said it's not a linear line. So this is kind of the path that an international student will travel. So once you decide to apply to Trent and you get an offer, congratulations. That's when you begin your process for applying for your initial study permit. You can't apply before you are given an offer because your study permit is linked to the institution that you've been admitted to, Trent University in this case. Those study permits come with conditions. They let you work a certain number of hours. They tell you that you must be a full-time student. Um, they tell you what you're allowed to do and what you can't do as a student in Canada. Uh, Working permissions are related to that. If you have a spouse, particularly if you're a graduate level student and you want to bring your husband or wife with you to Canada, we can assist you in getting a spousal open work permit so they can come and work while you study. If your study permit is going to expire before your degree completes, we can help you to extend that permit and also the entry documents that you need to support that, as well as I mentioned, the post-graduation work permit, which is a few years down the road, but we are here for you throughout your entire journey. So immigration in Canada, it's similar but different in every country. So in Canada, to study in a program longer than 6 months, which all of you will be studying, you are required by law to have a study permit. This is a temporary resident document that defines your role and permission in Canada as a student. To maintain your study permit, you need to be a full-time student in your program. Um, Being full-time allows you to work, and it also allows you to be eligible for other immigration pathways. Regarding your post-graduation work permit, the good news for Trent students is that every one of our degree programs are post-graduation work permit eligible, graduate level, undergraduate level, and also we have aligned our postgrad certificate programs to be eligible as well because we know international students want those options. We've actually, I think every one now that an international student can apply to is eligible for a post-graduation work permit. This may seem obvious, but I think it's important to go overview what documents you need to apply for your study permit. Obviously, you need a valid passport. It's required to enter Canada, and it's important that if your passport is going to expire in the short term, I would say in for sure less than a year, but probably less than 2 years, you should talk to your home government and see if you can get a longer one because your study permit is going to be tied to the length of your passport validity. In other words, if your program's 4 years in length, it's nice to have a passport that's at least 4 years long in its validity so that your study permit can be issued once. In addition to your passport, you get an entry document. So this is the document that you show at the border and allows you to enter Canada. Typically, it would be affixed to a page of your passport in the form of a temporary resident visa, which you can see an example of on the right-hand side of the screen. Or if you're from certain countries, the United States, the European Union, for example, you don't need a visa. You just have an electronic travel authorization, which is just a slightly more express electronic link to your passport. The good news is that when you apply for your study permit, it will funnel you into getting one of these documents based on your eligibility criteria, which is great. And as I mentioned, the study permit is a document. It's a physical piece of paper that you'll receive at the border when you enter Canada that defines your permission to be in Canada as a temporary resident who is a student, which is great. It's important to note, just as it says here, it's not an entry document. If you come to the border with your passport and this without a visa, you're not going to be allowed to enter. So you need three things to enter the country: passport, your visa or ETA, and your study permit. So how to apply? This is a big topic, and we're not going to address it all today. What I'm going to tell you is that once you are admitted to Trent University, you will also get access to your Trent University email address. You should monitor that because you are going to get lots of invitations from our immigration advising team and our global engagement student support team to invite you to specialized sessions on the topics that you need to know at the stage in your journey that you are. So we do initial study permit sessions on repeat throughout the year for students who are coming into Trent, and they are an hour and a half long. They're more interactive, and there's opportunities for advisors to walk you through exactly what the portal looks like when you submit your application online. I know that many international students prefer to hire an agent in your home country. That's fine. That's within your right to do that. My advice is if you're hiring an agent to submit a study permit application, two things. Make sure that they have a license to do that, and make sure that you have access to your immigration portal so that you can see any updates that the government's sending you and you don't have to rely on someone to be the intermediary. But better than that, I would suggest that if you attend our sessions and you ask the right questions and you take your time to submit your application thoroughly, you can submit the application yourself and have a very high probability of success and save yourself or your family some money in the process. When should I apply? That's a good question. We know that immigration documents take a while to be assessed. They are going quicker now than they used to be in recent years, but still, don't delay. If you want to start in September, I really think that it's important to get your application in as soon as you receive your letter of acceptance. In addition to a letter of acceptance from Trent, if you're an undergraduate or a certificate level student, you'll receive a provincial attestation letter as well, a PAL, a PAL. If you're a graduate level student, you don't need the PAL, and that's good news. Just one less step. And once you submit everything online, you need to wait for your permit to be approved before you travel to Canada to begin your studies. If you show up at the border with an in-process application, they may turn you back. They may let you in as a visitor, but regardless, you can't commence your studies without an actual physical study permit. You can apply online through the IRCC Secure account, which is my highly recommended option. Everything is tracked, it's secure, and you can access status updates on your document all the time. Or you can apply through a visa application center, which some people prefer to do in person in their own country, although uh, it does complicate things. I think the portal is by far the best option these days. Just to note, if you're a US citizen in particular, it is possible to apply for a study permit at the port of entry at the border, but I would suggest connecting with an immigration advisor here at Trent before you make that decision, because if you have time, it's nice to know before you reach the border that your application has been submitted and already approved. So what do I need to apply? You need a secure account through IRCC. You have to create a username and a password, and you have multi-factor authentication like any good secure account, so you know that it's just you using it. You need a valid passport, as I mentioned. You need the letter of acceptance from Trent University, which is great. It needs to be valid that when you arrive, or when you apply rather, and you possibly need an attestation letter if you're at the undergraduate or certificate level. You need a digital photo that's taken within the last 6 months. And the sample on the bottom shows you that what it's required to look like. You need to be looking straight at the camera, not on a funny angle, not wearing sunglasses or a hat. Um, just a nice, crisp photo, and the criteria are listed on the portal so that you can have it taken by a friend or at a photo studio. Proof of funds is a huge factor in determining whether an international student is approved for their study permit. We'll go into greater detail in a slide, but this is the aspect that usually takes students the longest because they need to communicate with their parents, their sponsors, bank, and have enough supporting documentation to prove to the government of Canada that you have the financial means and a sound plan to pay for your studies while in Canada. And then obviously you need an application form. IRCC numbers all their forms, and the one that you're going to do is called IMM 1297, which is an application for a study permit made outside of Canada. It's a fillable PDF, and it's fairly intuitive once you actually get access to it. Once you log into the secure account, it'll ask you a series of questions, and it will prompt you with this form. When you have your account, your IRCC secure account, you can start your application and work on it incrementally. You don't need to do it all at once. So I suggest, even if you haven't been given a letter of acceptance to Trent yet, you can create your account this afternoon or tomorrow and begin exploring how the portal looks so you're familiar with it. And you can even upload certain documents now and upload more when you get them. So there's no need to rush at the last minute. Depending where you're applying from, you may also need to be required to provide biometrics. Not complex, it's just fingerprints and a photo of your face with your iris is showing. Some people need to give a medical exam. Visa office instructions can vary by country, so you need to follow the instructions that are prompted on the screen. And oh, excuse me, one quick second. Oh, pardon me, I had a tickle in my throat. Um, and all students, we strongly recommend include a study plan, which is just a short letter that explains your purpose of studies in Canada. You have to remember that the officers who assess an immigration application assess thousands of them. So helping them to understand why you want to come to Canada and why you want to study at Trent University just increases the odds of you having a successful application. If you're bringing family, you're going to be prompted to give information on who they are, spouse, dependent children, for example. If you are a minor, which most of you probably aren't, but if you're 17 years of age or younger, you may have to have a custodian in Canada, which is somebody who can just vouch to take care for you. We can help you to find a custodian who can legally do that. And if you are having an agent be your representative, you need to get permission for them to do that. And that is done through a use of representative form. Those are the key things you can do. Sounds like a lot of information to provide. It's it's less daunting once you start to look at the forms. And depending on your country, the visa office may request other documents, and that's fine. You can provide them and upload them when you get them. This is a quick example of what the LOA will look like, letter of acceptance. You can find this in your My Trent portal, which is Trent's student portal where everything that you need to do as a student will be located. It's in the admissions tab, which you can see with this little magnifying glass highlighting it there under the admissions status checkbox. Right click it, save it as a PDF to your computer, and you can upload it to the portal once you get there. That's great. I mentioned proof of financial support. I think if you take away anything from this session, this is maybe the most important issue because this is the number one reason why study permit applications are unsuccessful. You need to prove to IRCC that you have sufficient funds to cover 1 year's tuition plus your living expenses for 1 year. Your tuition costs will be noted on your LOA, and your living expenses, even if you're capable of living for less, your living expenses are prescribed by IRCC. So on the last slide, I was showing you on your LOA where the tuition is. It's in box 22. Copy that number in and prove that you have those funds. IRCC says that if you're coming by yourself, you need to have an additional $23,000 Canadian for yourself. And if you're having family members come with you, the cost goes up, as you can see based on the numbers on the left-hand column. So you can prove how you have these funds in various ways. My advice is always that the least complicated it can be, the better your odds of success. So the easiest way is to have your tuition deposited in your Trent account and your living expenses residing in a Canadian bank account or a GIC. If the funds are in your bank account back home or your parents' bank account, it's very important that you submit current bank records that show that the funds have been there for a while, not just deposited like in the last week, and that the currency is translated into Canadian dollars so that the officers understand what you are illustrating in the documents that you submit. If you're getting your funds in various ways, from a loan, from an uncle, from your dad, from your personal savings, upload all of those supporting documents and include a letter of explanation that illustrates what you're giving to the IRCC agent. There's nothing wrong with funding your education that way. However, the more complicated it is, the more potentially confusing it is. This is essentially what I just said there. Once you're in the portal, you're gonna choose your country or territory. It's gonna walk you through the specific visa instructions for your country, and you're going to follow the instructions that they prompt you to there. This is what the application checklist will look like. You can click on each of these documents, and they'll download, save them to your computer, and then upload them to the portal. I'm going to skip through a couple of these because I'm running out of time. After you apply and submit everything, you'll be prompted to give your biometrics, which is great. You just go to the biometrics visa office and Um, you have 30 days to do this. It costs $85. And most major countries have lots of options within their country. If you're in a smaller country, you may have to travel to provide your biometrics. They're good for 10 years. And once your application has been approved, you'll receive notification. Unless it's refused, you'll also receive notification. And as I mentioned, number one reason for not approval is inadequate funds, um, or the officer thinks you're going to not leave Canada at the end of your authorized stay, which is why your study plan is really important, or they don't believe that you're a genuine student, which is on you to prove that you want to come and study at Trent University to advance your career goals, to support your family, and to literally come and study. Once your application is approved, this is what I'm going to conclude today's session with. You're going to be sent instructions on how to submit your passport to the Visa Application Center for stamping. This is where they affix the visa into your document. And as an entry document, this is what you're going to take to the border when you come to Canada, which is great. Um, if you're in a visa exempt country, they will tell you your ETA number in your application letter. So that's great. You have your passport, you have your valid visa, and you can enter the country as long as you bring your additional letter of introduction that'll be emailed to you. You show that to the border when you come to Canada, and the visa officer will issue you a physical study permit at the port of entry. For most of you, this will be in Toronto because it's the closest airport to Trent University. But should you arrive at a different point in Canada, your study permit will be issued there. And then you have all the documents you need to study, which is great. When you get to the border, they're going to ask you some questions about your purpose of being here. Answer honestly, answer comprehensively, and have your application with you available, at least on your phone, if not in physical paper form, and you will get your study permit at the port of entry. We will meet you at the airport or on campus when you get here, and we will welcome you to the Trent community. So that's a lot of information. As I said, please watch your My Trent email address for invitations to our longer sessions. I'm going to get to know you a lot better as you begin to prepare your documents, and we will support you through your journey, and we will be ready to welcome you in September or November, or sorry, or January of 2027. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the session today.